So, Jonathan, so far we've laid out just a few scriptures to give a sense of biblical admonition toward what marriage ought to look like, and I like what I hear. To
Me too.
And now, obviously, and we're going to get into some scriptures that aren't as pretty as the ones we just read, dealing with some of the realities that existed in biblical times. But we need to put those in the context of what God was saying we ought to be striving for. And the key is, just because other things are mentioned doesn't mean you strive for them. You strive for the standards that God sets, whether others live up to them or not.
Good point.
We do have a call.
Welcome to Christian Questions. This is Jonathan and Rick. Who are we speaking with?
It is Randall.
Good morning, Randall.
Rick and Jonathan, promise you're going to love me still after this.
Okay, incoming.
We're incoming wounded. I have a quote from an author, Kersan. And it's about Paul.
Okay.
Paul, speaking from within Jewish Torah, singles out homosexuality alone for rejection as unnatural in Romans 1:26-27. But in that tradition, as in many others, sexual nature was determined by biology, body, and gender. For many people today, however, sexual nature is determined by chemistry, brain, and hormones. So Paul never faced the question we must now ask. Yes, of course, sexual action follows sexual nature, but by what and by whom is sexual nature determined? And what homosexuality is as natural as heterosexuality is for others? And the question, of course, and I know there is the question of male-female difference and complementarity. But if we look at, the Catholic Church, we just forgave Galileo. Religion studies define reality, the what of all exists that cannot be measured by space and time. But both science and religion can speak the truth. And before I did environmentalism, I did public sexual education. And I'll tell you the horror, the stories that I heard about AIDS. And I want as many people as married as possible, because getting people married makes them more responsible in terms of sexual behavior. So even just on a public health issue, I would support this. And also I would say, in terms of the fact that we condemned Galileo for centuries, that what if we're wrong on this, on our reading of the biblical text?
Well, and you bring up some good questions, and we're going to be getting into a lot of that actually in the second hour. So you may want to actually come back in when we deal with Paul's approach on this. But, Randall, thanks for the call. And let me just respond very quickly. You said, Paul never faced the question that must be asked. I think he faced the very question that had to be asked, because I believe that the Bible gives us a sense of how to act. And I think that is the question. Whether something is natural or not was not the issue. The issue is what actions, what activities are godly and which ones are outside of God's way.
And you know how much I love you, Rick. I think you're terrific. But I would just publicly say that I would rather err on the side of people being able to act in the way that they are, as opposed to hiding who they are. And I really would rather them be in a structure as opposed to sleeping around.
Randall, I absolutely understand and respect what you said. We've got a number of places to go here. We're going to let you go for right now, and perhaps we'll hear back from you later.
All right. Don't be mad at me, please.
No, no. That's not the point here at all.
Okay.
All right.
I love you.
All
Later,
right.
Gators.
Not
Bye.
to worry.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Now, Jonathan, this is important because this also lays out very, very important groundwork. Whether or not this is a natural thing, quote unquote, or not, we still need to deal with it. And from our perspective, we want to deal with it from the scriptures. And the question is, do the scriptures deal with it thoroughly enough? Or did God happen to leave that part out? Because that's one of those things that you have to bring up and say, did God leave that out? I don't think so. I think God is too far-seeing and too wise to have left something out. So if he didn't leave it out, how did he include it? That's how we got to get to it. Let's read just this next little paragraph from this article in Newsweek, and then we'll go to a quick scripture in Deuteronomy, and then we'll take the next call that's waiting.
All right, Newsweek. Social conservatives point to Adam and Eve as evidence for their one-man, one-woman argument. In particular, this verse from Genesis, "Therefore shall a man leave his mother and father, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." But as Siegel says, if you believe that the Bible was written by men and not handed down in its leather bindings by God, then the verse was written by people from whom polygamy was the way of the world.
All right. Now, again, first of all, that verse wasn't written by people. It was written by Moses. Okay? Secondly, Moses had one wife. Thirdly, the idea that polygamy was the way of the world needs to be addressed, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. Let's just touch on a few verses from Deuteronomy 17, and then we'll take this next call that's waiting.
And I say, you shall surely set a king over you.
So now this is God speaking to Israel and talking to them about when they go into the land. And it's interesting, he knows they're going to want a king, even though that's not his way. He's going to allow them to have the king, even though it's not his way. He says, when you say, you shall surely set a king over you. So he's saying, you're going to be demanding of me a king. Hello, who's in charge here? But he's going to let it happen because it's a lesson. So here's what he says about the kings that they're going to have.
He shall not multiply wives for himself, or else his heart will turn away. Now it shall come about when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself a copy of this law on a scroll in the presence of the Levitical priesthood. It shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life. Then he may learn to fear the Lord his God, be carefully observing all the words of this law and these statutes, that his heart may not be lifted up above his countrymen, and that he may not turn aside from the commandment to the right or to the left.
So basically what it's saying is when you demand a king, here's what I want to have happen. I want the king to write out a copy of the law in front of the priesthood. And I want him to keep that with him and read it every day. Otherwise, he'll end up turning away. Now, you think about that, and he says he shall not multiply wives unto himself. Did the kings obey that?
No.
Not so much. So you see God allowing them to have their own way and saying, and you're going to have your own way. Here's the way I want you to do it. And they still didn't even do that. And we'll get into a little bit of that in just a moment. Let's get to this next call.